Unit 4 American Expansion 1801 to 1861. The first half of the 19th century was a period of expansion. The continental US grew to fill the border it has today, and the population skyrocketed. Changes created both new tensions and new opportunities. US. Chapter 40. President Thomas Jefferson. The election of 1800. Democratic Republican tried to paint a Federalist candidate John Adams as a monarchist. Adams tried to label Thomas Jefferson, the Democratic Republican candidate, as a radical and a atheist. Atheist, a person who rejects belief in God. Adams clearly lost, but Jefferson tied with Aaron Burr, a 73 vote in the Electoral College. The House of Representatives, mostly Federalists, voted 35 times trying to break the tie. Finally, Alexander Hamilton convinced congressmen not to vote for Burr. Thomas Jefferson became the third president of the US. Hamilton and Burr became bitter enemies. This was the first time in history that there was a peaceful transfer of power between opposing political parties. The mess of trying to break the tie led to the 12th Amendment in 1803, which made the election of the president and vice president to separate valid. Jefferson as president. Jefferson emphasized the central stance of the Democratic Republican Party, limited government with a laissez-faire approach. Laissez-faire, French for leave it alone, a theory, particularly in economics that insists on minimal government intervention. Focus on agriculture. Political unite through individual independence. Taxes were repealed. The Alien and Sedition Act expired. The military and military spending shrink, and the number of employees working for the federal government decreased. The Midnight Judges. At the very end of Adams' presidency, Congress has passed the Judiciary Act of 1901, creating new federal judge positions. Once the judges were in office, they would keep their job for life. So Adams made sure to appoint them before he left. Because of the last-minute timing, they were called the Midnight Judges. When Jefferson became president, some of the judges hadn't yet gotten their commissions, the document that made him official. It was the job of the new Secretary of State, James Madison, to deliver the commissions, but Jefferson told Madison, well, just not to deliver them. One of the judges left in limbo was William Marbury. Marbury vs. Madison, 1803. It gets complicated and there's Latin, but it's important. Marbury took his case straight to the Supreme Court, where he requested a writ of mandamus, mandate power against James Madison, which basically asked the court to force Madison to give him his commission. The Judiciary Act of 1789 gave the Supreme Court the power to settle the case. Although Chief Justice John Marshall agreed that Marbury deserved his commission, he ruled against Marbury, saying the Supreme Court didn't have the power to grant the writ and settle the case because Congress has no right to pass the Judiciary Act of 1789 in the first place. The Constitution is the supreme law, so when the Constitution and the law were in disagreement, the Supreme Court could cancel out the law. The case of Marbury vs. Madison is important because it established judicial review, the power of the Supreme Court to nullify a law by declaring it unconstitutional. It made the Supreme Court weaker in power and status to the executive and legislative branches. Judicial review, the power to declare an act of Congress unconstitutional. Marbury vs. Madison strengthened the idea of checks and balances in the federal government and made the Supreme Court the final word of the constitutionality of the law. Western expansion. Kentucky was admitted to the Union in 1792. Tennessee joined soon after in 1796, and Ohio in 1803. The Mississippi River was officially the western border, but Americans kept moving and kept pushing the limit. Merchants wanted to use the Mississippi River to conduct trade. Spain controlled the river and its major port, New Orleans. The Louisiana Purchase, but they didn't want it. Spain had secretly traded the Louisiana Territory, all of the land between the Mississippi and the Rocky Mountain, including New Orleans, to France in 1800. In 1802, Spain closed the port to American shipping. Napoleon Bonaparte, the ruler of France, was planning to expand his empire in the Americas, using New Orleans as a critical point of entry for troops headed to the century. New Orleans also controlled the Mississippi River, which was a major port of exit for goods from the American West. France was essentially threatening the sovereignty and economic stability of the U.S. Jefferson sent Robert R. Livingston and James Monroe to France to meet with Mr. Talleyrand, asked for a bribe in 1798. United States, Louisiana, Spanish territory. To discuss buying the territory of New Orleans, but they got a surprise. Haitian leader Toussaint Louverture led a slave revolt uprising that forced the French out of the Haiti. French troops were also decimated by yellow fever. Decimated, destroy, reduce greatly. Decimated by yellow fever. France was losing interest in the Americas and needed to fund its war with England. Hamilton. concerned that newly acquired land would soon be filled with Democratic Republican, some Federalists discussed ceding and become a Northern Confederate, a separate union that would include New York. Ceded, separate, to formally withdraw from the alliance or association. They encouraged Aaron Burr, who had been ostracized son, excluded by his own party for not dropping out of the race during his tie with Jefferson, to run for governor of New York. Ostracized, to exclude by general consent. But Rost was sitting vice president at the time. He was sitting vice president at the time. But blamed Alexander Hamilton for ruining his reputation and challenged Hamilton to a duel, single combat. In July 1804, Hamilton claimed he was opposed to dueling, and he may have chosen not to shoot at his opponent, or it may have been a mistake. But Burr shot Hamilton. Alexander Hamilton died from wounds from the duel 30 hours later. Talleyrand offered to sell them the whole Louisiana territory, which was larger than the entire U.S. at the time. The price of $15 million was a bargain, roughly 3 cents an acre. In October 1803, the Louisiana Purchase extended the border of the U.S. to the Rocky Mountain despite its questionable constitutionality. United States, St. Louis, Camp Wood, St. Charles, Louisiana, Missouri River, Sioux, Fort Mandan, Great Falls, Three Forks, Black Pit, Mezz Peace, Shoshone, Columbia River, Port Clesto, Pacific Ocean, Spanish territory, the Lewis and Clark expedition, Atlantic Ocean. Lewis and Clark. Congress chose Captain Meriwether Lewis and Lieutenant William Clark to lead an exploration of the West. Their group of about 50 men, the Corps of Discovery, a group of people acting together under a common direction. The P and the S are silent. Corps of Discovery set out to map the new land. In May of 1804, the Lewis and Clark expedition left St. Louis and followed the Missouri River. St. Louis, Missouri River. By winter, they had reached modern-day North Dakota. When Lewis and Clark headed west again in the spring, the young Shanshon woman named Sacagawea, her husband, a French trader, and their newborn baby went with them. Sacagawea was the interpreter and guide, following the Columbia River on the western side of the Rocky. They came into sight of the Pacific Ocean in November of 1805. Lewis and Clark returned home the next year, filled with information. Their experiences inspired enthusiasm for the West. Trade troubles. Even though the US had remained neutral in the conflict between Britain and France, each of them tried to stop America from doing business with the other. Jefferson, who had been re-elected to a second presidential term, decided to punish England and France by cutting off their access to American trade altogether. In December 1807, Congress passed the Embargo Act, embargo boycott, a government order prohibiting commercial ships sailing into or out of its port, ending all international trade between the US and the rest of the world. Britain and France just trade with other countries instead. It was a disaster for American merchants and for Jefferson's image. James Madison, Democratic Republican, won the next presidential election.